Call the meeting to order. Before I have anybody stand for the pledge, can we take a moment of silence for the mass shootings that's been going around in Dayton, Ohio, Gilroy, California, and El Paso, Texas? And I'd just like to say our thoughts and prayers are with all the families and people involved in this. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Trish.
Mrs. Brew?
Here.
Mr. Kramer?
Here.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Mr. Oja?
Here.
Mr. Pop?
Here.
We're going to move on to the approval of the agenda. I do have one thing to add under appointments and presentations. We got Astria. There you go. Formerly of Packerland. To add to that. Maybe we'll just say 7B. Is that all right?
Sure.
Instead of changing everything up. Do I have a motion on the agenda?
I'll make a motion on the agenda with the one add-in. Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of July 15th, 2019. Do I have any questions on the minutes from anybody? If not, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes from the regular meeting of July 15th, 2019.
Support.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Move on to the approval of manifest 2019-16. Scott, do you have any questions?
I have nothing for tonight.
Brett?
I have none.
Lee?
One little question here on the first page, under mayor council elections. It says here for professional services, Andrews Consulting, city portion consulting webpage. I know what that's all about. The DDA picked up the other half of it, but for the $3,000, how do we make that payment? Because on their slip, they said they will accept check, wire transfer or credit card.
We do it under check.
We did checks. We did
Don't-
two checks, one from the DDA.
Don't we have a credit card that we can use if there's no upcharge on the other end? Because they didn't say anything about an upcharge.
We can use our debit card. The city has a debit card.
Debit, but I'm talking, we don't have an official credit card.
No, we don't have a credit card. We have a debit card that comes right out of our checking account.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, almost everybody that has a credit card, they're getting 1% or whatever it is for whatever. Okay, I thought maybe we might be missing the boat there. One other thing here on page 3, under Recreation Department, CJ, first AYD Corporation, antibiotic ointment, RESPW/inhalation. What is all that about?
Respiratory exhalation. I'll have to check.
I mean, I could see something like that maybe under the wastewater treatment plant. Yeah, check and find out what that's all about. That's all I have.
The only thing I have for tonight is just a comment that manifest is big tonight, it's almost $1 million, but $350,000 of that is pass-through collection of taxes that we're paying out to the entities that we collected them for.
I have nothing. We'll move on. Anyone wishing to address the council on an agenda item?
Need an approval on that.
Oh, sorry, guys. I need approval on the manifest.
I'll make a motion, we approve manifest number 2019-16 in the amount of $993,675.53.
Support.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Anyone wishing to address the council on an agenda item shall do so now at the podium. State your name and address for the record. We have no public hearing. We'll move on to appointments and presentations. Appointments, Michigan Municipal League, designation of voting delegates. Mr. Anderson.
Okay, this is something we do every year. This time of year, in September or October, the Michigan Municipal League holds its annual meeting. The city council looks at, appoints a delegate for that meeting, a voting delegate for that meeting. And this year, it's going to be in Detroit, downtown Detroit. And the date is September 25th. So typically, if no one from the council is planning to head down for the annual meeting, then they appoint me as the,
I was gonna say, don't we usually appoint you?
usually appoint me. You can appoint Mary, though, she'd want to go down, huh? No? No, if any of the council members,
I might possibly be going to that one. I just gotta check everything.
okay.
I probably shouldn't say this, but I might be interested in going until I saw downtown Detroit.
So, if it's, we have to have this in by August 21st, so, you can hold it off if you want to check to see, our next meeting's the 18th.
No, I think we should
Well-
appoint you, because we know for sure
Okay.
you're going.
And
Sure.
if it changes and Mrs. Brew wants to go,
We might be able to do that once we get down there.
And if we can't,
Sure.
that's fine. Okay, do I have a motion on the appointment of Mr. Anderson?
I'll make a motion that Mr. Anderson be appointed the City of Norway's voting delegate at the upcoming MML annual meeting to be held in Detroit, Michigan on September 25th, 2019.
Support.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
And then we're gonna go to 7B, Astria, formerly of Packerland. Would you guys like to come on up to the podium? Welcome.
Thank you for having us. Does anyone have any questions specifically? I know we've had investors
Yeah.
here today.
Do you guys want to introduce yourself too?
Oh.
I'm sorry.
No. My name is Jessica Hume, and I'm the Director of Sales at Astria.
I'm Richard Rugg. I run our network operations at Astria.
Okay. Does anybody, I have some questions, especially with the phone line. I know we've been having problems because different businesses have really been coming up to me and complaining about the phone lines being out. And I know we had an incident where the power went out and people were trying to call our line, and that's, our main, how our electric department knows when to go out and where to go. And I know people said they called here and our phone lines were not working or it was busy. So can you kind of explain what's going on with that?
Absolutely. So I'll break this into two separate topics of discussion just because of all the timelines play out for consistency. The first issue, which I believe is the power outage issue that you're talking about, people calling got busy, was an issue with a setting called the call concurrency setting. And that was set up during our migration to our new provider. For the record, we've changed our upstream voice provider. And that was kind of the start of all the changes that we're going through. In that change, we had to basically make some decisions with the city in how to set up certain settings. One of them being the call concurrency, which is how many calls can come through to the city's PBX at the same time. We had set that setting to the same that I was previously thinking that would be acceptable. But what happened is we ran into an issue where there was more calls just because of the increased volume with phone conversion and the power outage that we had. So kind of overloaded that number. So in response to that, we actually added more concurrent calls to that to resolve that issue.
So we shouldn't have that problem anymore?
That's correct.
Okay.
The second part of that, though, it's slightly different, is when people call in, our test calls have been a little sporadic. Today, when we did some testing, it was 2 out of 73 calls got a busy signal when we called in. That we have a proposed fix that we have proposed to GoTech, who does the PBX support for the city. We proposed that earlier today, and we're awaiting the feedback for it. That did resolve the issue.
Is that why some people are on the phone lines too and it's going out, and is that part of that problem?
To going out, so we had some reports from Ray that his calls were dropping at about the 15-minute mark. Is that what you're?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So with that, it's sort of the same scenario. We have a fix that we believe will fix the problem that we proposed to GoTech earlier today. We don't know for sure it's resolved yet because we have to do further testing, but we anticipate to have that answer early tomorrow.
And then one of my other questions and complaints that I'm really getting from some citizens, and definitely quite a few from business owners, is the internet going out.
I'm sorry, I'm not aware of any recent complaints on that topic.
Okay, so just so you guys are aware of that, because I know one of the businesses, faxes come in from doctors and different stuff, and they weren't able to get through because their internet wasn't working.
Was that recently? Because we started this, about 2 weeks ago?
Approximately 2 to 3 weeks ago.
Right, and we had, there were actually 3 different issues going on that we were all trying to figure out what's going on. We had some video issues, we had the internet issues, and then we had the phone issues. And I think they were coming from different directions, but of course, we have one customer having all 3, and so,
Right.
And
it was like all 3. I mean, I even
All
got
3.
complaints on the TV too.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not aware of any recent internet complaints. So if that's something if we're able to get more information, we'd be happy to,
I do,
And I think Jim went and checked one of them, and I don't know if he never got back or whatever.
one of the messages we try to put out to customers is that when we have an outage, when they have an outage, their internet goes out, their phone goes out, or even bad reception on video, is that we need the information, that the detailed information, time, whatever they can give us, and as soon as possible. So, because that's how you guys troubleshoot. So, want our customers to call City Hall, and hopefully they don't get a busy signal.
Well, and
'Cause
that's why I was
that's how they
taking
have to
a
do
lot
it.
of blunt of the calls, is because they couldn't get a hold of City Hall, so they got a hold of me.
It's hard for you guys to troubleshoot if we don't have the information. However, we get that information, we got to zero in on those. Because like the 15-minute issue, that's happened to me. I get on extended conference calls on a regular basis. And what's happening is that the people on the other end can hear me, but it's just like I'm put on mute, and so then the time is still going, and I got nothing, and so I end up having to hang up. So,
Absolutely. We understand how frustrating that can be. We're working with the GoTech
Okay.
to try and figure out a resolution for that issue. We believe we have that specific issue resolved.
And I haven't heard like last few days or anything this week at all with internet or anything. So maybe it's resolved, I don't know.
There was quite a bit done this past week with Richard and the team, working with the tech support for the city of Norway and just getting the equipment updated, correct?
Yes.
City of Norway. So there's some equipment that needs to be updated in order for the phone lines to work too. So we've been working through all of that.
I think,
Very close contact with Jim.
Right. and I think it's good that you come in because, we are the person that bills the people and,
I run our contact center in Iron Mountain, so getting escalations from customers and having to explain and give them reasoning in there.
Right, and they're paying good money for
Absolutely.
for all of these services and, you know.
They just want it to be seamless and not think about
Right.
it to work, and we want it to as well.
Right, and I think, you know, people understand maybe here or there, but it was a couple of occasions that, they called City Hall for different things and couldn't get through, you know, so.
So those lines that Richard was speaking about, I don't know about anyone else, but I always ask him to break it down in layman's terms for me, because a lot of times, he's an engineer, so I can't understand mostly what he's saying, but what he was referring to before with concurrent calls, that was referred to it. It's just essentially a flood of calls coming in, and what setting you have of how many calls can come in at once. Like, for instance, in the call center, if I have more than 50 calls that come in at once, that'll be a business, if no one else can get through. So we just had to increase those lines. So although it created a lot of frustrations for the customers, fortunately, it was a very easy solution, just to change the setting.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm sure you did have an abundance of calls. There was quite a bit of people out of power. The stoplight was out, businesses were out, so, right.
So I think we've worked through the majority of everything, and hopefully with the solution that Richard and the team has come up with, everything should be behind us for the most part.
And we continue to work with Jim, Ralph, and Voltech, Chris at Voltech, we've been working very closely, because we know at the end of the day, you know, the customer, when they call in and have an issue, doesn't matter where the problem is, it's a problem to them. So,
Right.
you know, we'll all work together as a team to make sure that was resolved.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate both of you coming in. Any other questions?
Well, I know the answer, but I want to get it out there for the public. This name change for the Astria, is this just a rebranding, or is this a sale? Is this moving out of local? Is this rebranding because of your expansion?
Sure, it's a great question. It actually is a rebrand. We haven't sold or we have not been bought. It's really come a time that we have a name and a brand that champions our efforts in rural broadband, and actually to further enhance the fact that we are rural and we're local. We've purchased a company last year called Lighthouse.net in the Eastern UP. We've carried two brands now for over a year because Packerland Broadband doesn't really make sense over in Eastern UP. So it's just come a time that we've all come together of one brand.
So Lions fans won't sign up for Packerland?
We might get more customers now because we're not called Packerland. Maybe? No.
No.
So about 3-4 weeks ago, there was a business in town that 3 days consistently, they lost 2 hours every day during working hours because of updates. Are all your updates done during business hours or before or after, or why did that happen?
We do our maintenance windows Monday through Friday, midnight through 6 a.m. We never do any updates during the middle of the day, with the exception of emergency updates where there's a service impact that's actively, you know, causing greater harm than it would for us to fix it. So we never do normal updates during the day.
Okay.
And I can understand where businesses, I mean, at my business, the phones are out, and I work at a beauty shop, and if the phones are out, people ain't calling and making appointments.
Yeah.
So I totally understand, because I was frustrated, and that had happened a few times now.
Those who like to just leave it on, and we needed to work and we stopped.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to communications. Approval, Strawberry Lake Project, pay request number 1, Mr. Anderson.
Okay, thank you. This is our first pay request for the Strawberry Lake project. The amount of the pay request is for $35,858.05. I gave you the breakdown between the approved contract. With the amount completed, there is a 5% retainage held on this amount. The way that the procedures go, we pay the contractor, and then we submit a request for payment from the DNR to get reimbursed, you know, through the grant money.
I just want to make one comment too, because, you know, we hear this, and I know I probably sound like a broken record, but I just want people to understand, this grant money was put towards this. It cannot be used on roads or anything else. You know, the grant says where you can use the money. So it cannot be used on anything else in the town except for what it's dedicated to be. They dedicate that we do with it.
Schedule-wise, Ray, how are we doing?
I think we're doing pretty well. Little bit of a holdup on the paving, partly because contractor, they're well within the contract time, but their original schedule, which I thought was a bit aggressive, but they wanted to be completed by the end of August. They were going to start paving on the 22nd of July, but we had some extra work we had to do, or additional work we had to do with the gravel, and so they held off so they could come in and pave all at once, so it's just understandable. And then we are waiting on some block for the retaining wall on the north side. Yeah, but it's still well within schedule, so we're still thinking that first part of September, we're gonna be done out of there.
I've noticed a lot of people walking down there yet, and the signs say not to.
Yeah, we put it up, and the people are going past the signs. I
So
wish they
just
wouldn't.
remember
It's
to be
a
real
safety-
careful, that's all.
A safety issue.
Yeah.
That's why they're up there.
Any other questions? If not, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion that pay request number 1 be approved for $35,858.05.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Move on to approval, USDA RD WWTP engineering amendment.
Bruce, you want to take this one?
We had engineering money that was available to transfer to contingency, and because we were right at project closeout, we didn't really realize that Brenda wants an engineering amendment to do that. So we put one together, and unfortunately, I just found that out late last week, and I wasn't here today when the gal was finally able to get that to me, so that's why the one you're looking at, you see something crossed out, and she didn't make the change that I penciled in. The language on the second page is there is actually from the last amendment. And then I just realized that I didn't mark it up to do that, but she changed the date of the effect of the original agreement to the date of this, tonight, which is on the first page, I think, and I'm gonna have to mark that up too. Unless you really want me to clean it up and come back to you for signature, I would just assume get it into Brenda. But if you want me to clean it up and I can get it to you, sign a clean one, I can do that in here, so. But that's the reason, it's a minus 18,000 something from the various categories that we go to contingency. And there'll be no more invoicing from us. I gave Ray the as-built drawings tonight that he wanted, including a thumb drive. The O&M manual is not quite finished, but it's going to be finished on our time.
Did we have the right numbers on our,
Yeah.
what we wrote up? So
The
we have.
dollars are right.
Okay.
It's the wording.
Just
You notice
the
on the second page, you'll see some handwriting. And on the first page, if you look at where it says effective.
We don't have that.
I handed this out to you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that, Rick.
Yeah, I just came into the rear post tonight. So if you look on the second page, you'll see where it's crossed out and a row, you know what's supposed to be.
Okay.
And if you look on the first page, on that first line where it says effective date of original agreement or something like that, you see where it says August 5th tonight? Now, that's supposed to be 2016 or 17, whatever our original agreement was, and that's the same on any amendment you do, so I had not marked that up, but she's kind of new, she went ahead and changed it anyway, thinking that I missed marking it up. And I just didn't see it till the end of the day, and I didn't get a chance to get back to it. So if you want me to make it all, I can redo it, Candy, in a day and get it back to you, sign a clean one if you want. It's not gonna hold the stuff at all.
What? I think we can just change it before we vote on it.
change the effective date to the date of the commencement.
It's, yeah, what it's supposed to be, I grabbed the wrong one. It's supposed to be April 1st, 2013. That was the date of our original agreement with the city. Okay, so anytime you have an amendment, this date never changes. And it wasn't supposed to change this time around either, but it got changed.
Is that the only change, or is the change at the bottom too, date, no, date signed is right?
No, the second, it's that one, and then on the second page, you'll already see our.
Transfer, yeah,
change
okay.
in there.
Okay.
So, if you really, I don't think Brenda's gonna matter, so this would go to her tomorrow after you sign it. Otherwise, if we make those corrections, it'll take a day or so, and have to arrange to get your signature then. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna be gone for a week,
when you're leaving,
tomorrow at 6 in the morning to Florida.
I don't think I can get it done by then.
That's what I think, so.
I think, from my
I think it'd be
perspective,
fine.
I'm sorry about it, but I think we should just pencil it in, get it to her, call it a day.
And if she has any problem with that, then we'll just
I don't
re-sign
think
it.
she will.
Okay.
It just doesn't look.
As long as the rest of the council is fine with that, we'll make the changes then. Effective date, April 1st, 2013. And then on the second page, number 2, transferred unused engineering dollars to
Contingency.
contingency.
And there's another 600,
Okay. And then I need struck inspection costs are being reduced, that's struck.
Yeah.
And then on the first page, obviously, the April 1st, 2013, and you were gonna strike the August 5th, 2019.
correct.
Anybody have a problem with that? No. Okay, then, go ahead. Everything's good?
Ray, okay, this is being transferred to the contingency fund. How much do we have in the contingency fund?
We will have, was it 44? No, it was 32,000.
32.
There's a little small amount from administration, 600 and some dollars that goes over there too.
Yeah, on the next agenda item, it's the project, the final pay request, and it breaks it down of what we have for remaining, and we are gonna have $8,000 that we're gonna transfer in.
I see.
Yeah, so the remainder of that is contingency.
If you look at the bottom line of that pay request, that's what the contingency amount is, before we use it for that.
Right. So we'll have $36,000 after this of contingency. Okay.
Yeah, it's like 30,000 something.
36.
So I don't know if there's any discussion, you want to pass this, I assume, first.
Yes, I would like to pass this before we go on to the next
Right.
one. If I have a motion and a support.
I'll make a motion, the USRD wastewater treatment plant engineering amendment be approved.
Number 4. Probably should say number 4.
It's not anywhere in any of this, so I'm not saying number 4.
Yeah, it's okay.
The engineering amendment be approved for the amount, the deduction of $18,246.18 be moved to contingency, and the total engineering contract be $653,654, with the changes as mentioned in discussion of the date and the transferred engineering dollars to contingency. Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Minigini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. Now we're gonna move on to the approval USDA RDW WTP final pay request. Bruce?
Well, that's pretty self-explanatory. You've got the list, you've got that, with some of the payments. And, met with Ray, he had all that stuff put together, so it's just a list. The FTS stuff was, I think, 6 different invoices, 5 maybe. So this is just the last submittal. And then we've got to update that spreadsheet that we already do.
Any questions?
Yes, FDS, one of FDS's invoices has Norway Hydro 100 on it. Is that supposed to be in the WWT project? It would be the number 5 invoice.
My understanding was that this was part of the work that we were doing, you know, with the grit removal,
I know we got it labeled.
or not grit removal, but the EQ basin. I know that the.
We got it labeled as a hydro project.
Yeah, because he had sent me a different, or a summary. That's where I got these numbers, you know, I was trying to keep track of all the different items he had. So that was working off that EQ basin.
Okay.
Where did you see that? Where it says hydro?
Activity, labor.
It's right on top on 5th invoice.
He has this misquoted right here.
Oh, okay.
Labor Norway Hydro 100
Okay.
for 3,600. But again, I mean, as I went through, number 5 was for the EQ basin, because he was
Okay.
doing all that SCADA work.
So in order to cover all the costs, the city is putting 8,000, whatever the number is, and that's going to show up on the spreadsheet. That's, we confirm that with Brenda, and the invoices were already done. So that's a clean slate of ended up.
So we're for sure that this is not the hydro?
It's not the hydro. That is for the EQ basin, because
Okay.
he had quite a bit of work. That,
Ray, if you want to do something with that before I submit it to her, you could change whatever. I don't know if she'll, I don't know how closely she's going to look at these. She probably doesn't.
I'll mark it and initial it. Either that, or I'll just have him resend it with the correct.
Well, just let me know, because normally this would probably go out there tomorrow, so if we're going to do something different, just let me know. Anything else?
Anything else?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
Okay, once this is done, I have to get the 2 things that you have to sign. I forgot to bring with me. I didn't go to the office, I was kind of tight. I'm gonna run and get those, so that I
Okay.
can sign those ones.
Do I have a motion?
Thanks.
Thank you, Bruce.
I make a motion that the Norway City Council approves the invoices for the WWTP project pay request in the amount of $44,739.87, and that $8,306.36 be transferred from the city's sewer fund into the WWTP project account.
Support.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yep.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
We're gonna move on to the federal aid project engineering proposal. Mr. Anderson?
Okay, at a prior meeting, we had talked about, you know, especially during budget hearings, we talked about that we're eligible and we're on the list for our federal aid, for some federal aid road projects. This is through both the Small Urban Committee and the Rural Task Force Committee, and I went through and explained that there's Main Street basically up through 16th and then past down Lower Pine Creek Road. That's all eligible for federal aid. It's split in half up on top of the hill between what they call Small Urban, which is one group, and then the Rural Task Force, which is another. Same with Kimberly Road. Kimberly Road is under the Rural Task Force until it hits Stevenson Street, and then it turns into the Small Urban. That is another one of our roadways that has eligibility for federal aid. So we actually have projects scheduled the way it shows on the list, it's scheduled for 2020, 2022. There's actually 2 projects in 2022, and then 2024. That's when it gets obligated. That's not actually construction. The construction is probably the next following year. But we have to have engineering in place, get on the MDOT bid list, and there's a whole series of events that we have to have up front in order to be on that let list from MDOT. So, since the first project is 2020, we have to start the engineering this fall and get through their process to get on that let list. So, in our discussions, it was recommended that I take all four projects, put them in one bid package for engineering RFP, and I put that out. We did receive 3 proposals back, which I gave you copies of the entire proposals, and we have Coleman Engineering, which is the low responsive bidder. The total for all 4 projects is $100,578. So we're recommending that we move forward with Coleman Engineering to handle the project. Kevin Trevillion's here this evening if you have any specific questions about their proposal.
Does anybody have questions for Kevin? Because I'll have him come up. Any questions for him? Do you want to bring him up?
Yeah, I just have just one. So I went through all these proposals just because there's a $60,000 difference between GEI and the next one, and then you guys are even cheaper than, what is it, the UP Engineering. I went through everything. Now, even just looking at the 16th Avenue, you're saying it's 2 weeks construction. Myself, I don't believe that can be done in 2 weeks. And I just don't want to see more change orders come in because that has happened to us before. You know, hey, it's only going to take us this. Next thing you know, we're 5 weeks into it. You know, and I'm looking at, not saying that they said it was going to be 7 weeks, whatever it was, you know, not saying it's that. But I just looking at the 2 weeks, I mean, is that what you honestly feel, that it's only going to take 2 weeks?
I mean, the project start to finish, maybe 3 weeks, but our inspection time required on the project, you know, was fairly straightforward. I took a pretty in-depth look at all the work items related to these projects. Very few sidewalk ramps, which are time eaters. You know, these are crush and shape and pave projects, so once mobilized, they'll crush it in a day.
Yeah.
You know, and then they're grading for a day or two, and paving on these projects is only a day or two as well. So very limited storm sewer, very limited sidewalk work. You know, it might be a 3-day week here and a 4-day week here, but yeah, I think 2 weeks total. I do, when I calculate that out, I use 50 hours in a week, and I'm confident that we can provide the service for that.
Okay.
I had basically the same question Mr. Pop did, but one other thing here, maybe I'm missing something here. In the FY 2020 16th Avenue, it says 80-20 local construction funding, but estimated local share, we have nothing. Is that a misprint?
No, I'll answer that. When we originally went through, that actually is a benefit to us, because when we went through and I put together the project estimates for which, they have nothing to do with that, that's at our small urban meetings and rural task force meetings. When I put those together, I actually didn't split the projects. And then the committee decided they needed to split the project because we only have $320,000 to spend every 2 years. And so what they did was they had to split the project so we could make it in 2 consecutive cycles. But when they did that, they didn't require that we have a local share. So it just worked out for us in this particular case.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Just got a statement here. I sure hope you're not missing something, because that $72,000 difference in engineering, that's a chunk.
That's what struck me. That's,
yeah, that
if
makes
it's
me
5
real
or
nervous.
10,000 in there, that's a little different, but
I
when
mean,
you're
if we're
70,000.
talking a couple $1 million, that isn't much, but I just, like Scott said, I don't want to see no change orders.
Yeah, no, we're really familiar with both small urban and rural task force. I was here to talk to you guys a month or so about it, Really familiar with these stretches of road and, yeah.
No, I know we've always been happy with your company, no
Good.
question about that.
Good.
Just a,
So you're
I'm confident
confident?
we can do it, absolutely.
Okay.
My question's more for Ray. A lot of these, depending on who's the funding sources and that, if you jump the gun on engineering, you disqualify yourself. This one, we have to have the engineering first?
Yes, this one is different. We have to have the engineering, then we get the engineering approved. I believe we have a grade meeting, is that what they call it, a grade?
Grade inspection.
Yeah, grade inspection, which is basically go through that, and then you get eligible for their let list. And it all has a whole schedule. I think we kind of laid it out during the budget hearing, what that let list schedule was like. And we have to have everything done before September 30th of 2020. So that's why, we do the engineering
Okay.
first. It's a whole
Yeah,
progression.
I'm used to a lot of these federal ones where if you do the engineering, you're out.
Yeah, this totally flipped from that.
Any more questions? Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that Coleman Engineering be approved to provide engineering and construction services for the 2024 Small Urban and Rural Task Force paving projects for a cost not to exceed $100,578.
support,
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menninghee?
yes.
We'll move on to the approval of Wisconsin Land Management Timber Sale Contract Amendment.
Thank you. Under this request, we have our timber project that's currently underway over in Wisconsin under the managed forest agreement or managed land forest, land management agreement. And we got a request from the contractor, Frank's Logging, that because of the wet spring, they got kind of a late start, and they were requesting if we would consider an amendment to the contract to extend the due date. They wanted to extend it out to December 2020.
What was the original due date?
I believe it was April of 2020. It was this spring.
I can understand that with the wet weather that we had.
My only question on that, Ray, is, that money was it not budgeted in this year? That we're gonna get from this?
Yeah,
from this?
it would be 100% budgeted in this year.
So we've got it budgeted in this year, and we're not gonna get it till next fiscal year?
We received, what do we receive, one payment,
I believe we've received 3.
3 payments?
They do it by unit.
Oh, so they don't hold it all till the end?
No,
No.
as they're done with each unit, they send the money.
So we would more than likely have to do an amendment to the budget and have it, depending on what was left. And that could be if you approve this, then I could go back to them and.
Well, I know in budget here, and we had discussed, what was that amount again?
130 something?
130 something?
I don't think we decided what we're,
No, well, we mentioned a dozen things as to
yeah,
where it could
we had a lot
go.
of places where it could go, but I don't think we dedicated.
No, there was no dedication at this
No.
time. It was going in the electric department.
Yeah. That's all I have.
Just to clarify, just looking over it, I appreciate the amendment being drafted. And it's straightforward, and I don't want to make any more complications. If we could just, the proposal was the amendment is, and then to extend the contract to no later than December 30th, 2020. I just asked that it be clarified further to state to extend the contract completion date to no later than December 30th, 2020. Just to clarify it, make sure it's the new completion date.
Do you want us to come back with this then, and have it written up that way?
Or we just approve it with marks on it, and we can send it to them.
Yeah, I think this is the logger's request, so
Okay.
it would be normal to approve it, add that in, and then send it back to them for approval.
You can just write on there and initial it.
Yep.
The motion is stated that way, it's just not.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that the Wisconsin Land Management timber sale contract with Frank's Logging be amended to allow for the time extension complete for the sale to December 30th, 2020, with the exact language to the amendment be to the extend the contract completion date to no later than December 30th, 2020.
Support.
Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yeah.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Approval of DTE easement request, city property, Mr. Anderson?
Okay, we received a request that actually came through Grant's office for a easement. The DTE Energy is going to be, they're actually right now working on a new main down Oak Crest Drive, and there was a request to extend service line up to the clubhouse at Oak Crest the golf course, and so they need an easement in order to do that. This is something that Grant's office has been working on, so I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that.
Well, not to bounce back too much, I did get a call from Mr. Plant, who was out at Oak Crest, who, I think he was the acting president. I think he has now been succeeded by, I believe it was Mr. Gerard, is now the Oak Crest president. And as Mr. Anderson indicated, I think that Mr. Plant and or Mr. Gerard and Ray were contacted by DETE at some point and advised that they were putting the line down Oak Crest, which was going to benefit some of the property owned by the city down at the end of Oak Crest Drive as well. During that time, I believe Mr. Plant and or Mr. Anderson had a chat regarding extending it. The Oak Crest wanted it up to the clubhouse just so they had a natural gas line for a number of different reasons. But as you can see from Exhibit A, it's to run kind of back behind, I think it's number 4, up to the cart shed, up that road. I'd like them to add, Exhibit A references it stopping at the cart shed, but if it's to run up to the golf clubhouse as noted, I think it should at least have that extension in Exhibit A referenced as well. I haven't had contact specifically with DTE Energy. This was provided to me from, I believe it was from Mr. Plant. My understanding is, I think there was some contacts with Ray and Mr. Plant regarding this particular asset, but it's over our property, and to put the gas line in, they need an easement. So the easement's appropriate, easement's kind of the default language that they utilize, and I think it's appropriate. One of the things, I think this is as much discussions with DTE and having that contact, it references that the route to be selected by the grantee, which would be DTE, I think it's understood it's going to go up to the clubhouse, but understood in writing are two different things. So again, that's where I think Exhibit A needs to have that little extra attached referencing that. So it needs to be approved by the council if it's agreeable. I think it should be approved with the caveat that Exhibit A references. If the line is going up to the clubhouse, it should reference and include the clubhouse on the Exhibit A.
Would you rather be tabled and that language in the motion or into the exhibit?
I think the council is within a proper procedure to approve it contingent upon Exhibit A referencing the entirety of the line from Oak Crest Drive up to the clubhouse. And if they won't change it, then it would not be approved at that point then.
Well, it says here, they want to run their main down the road that would in turn improve services to existing customers and offer services to new customers. So are they going to get out as far as our properties?
Yes.
That should be a big boost for selling those properties. Now, are they going to need any more right-of-ways as they scoot out along
No,
Oak
because
Crest there?
they're going along the right-of-way for Oak Crest Drive, so they already have that easement. When they get past to our properties to the south, they're basically coming onto that property, so that will be an extension from each homeowner. Now, if we have a development interior, then we'll deal with them directly, on that as it comes.
I'd like to table it till the next meeting, just for further discussion, because I don't see any increased benefit to any residents. I mean, it's just going up to the golf course.
Well, they're going down Oak Crest Drive whether we do this or not. This is just asking us if we wanted, the golf course actually contacted us and said they'd like to have natural gas. In order for them to get it, it's our property, so we would grant an easement. But they're gonna go down Oak Crest Drive, their project's already underway.
So this is just to go from the road to the golf course?
Correct.
To the golf-
It has nothing to do with Oak Crest Drive, other than that's where the service line's coming off of. And it's coming over the Oak Crest Drive, or Oak Crest property, which is city property, and so we have to grant easement in order for them to do that. Now, it's my understanding, there's no cost to the city at all. This is, I'm not even sure if the golf course has a cost to this. I think DTE made it clear that they wanted to, they have a number of what they call farm services out in those areas, and this is their project to upgrade those. And so I don't think they're charging any of the residents, to my knowledge, to make that.
During my discussions with Mr. Plon, he did indicate to me as well that I think there was an old line somewhere out in that area that they wanted to put this and upgrade it and modernize it, if you will. And that was one of the reasons, I think, why, as they were running down Oak Crest Drive, there must have been some discussions with Oak Crest themselves to both modernize it and to put this in place.
Well, it only makes sense to me if they're going down. And I mean, yeah, we lease the property, but we're leasing it, we still own it.
We own it, they're leasing it from us.
And that's only gonna help us, to have the natural gas run in there. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah, they approached, DTE approached us because they were gonna do the project regardless, because they wanna upgrade that service line. They wanna get an actual main run down Oak Crest Drive. So they actually talked to us about Marion Park, and they talked to us about the fairgrounds. They had some conversations with the fairgrounds. So there's quite a bit of work that they were looking at out in that area.
Any other questions? If not, do I have a motion?
I would ask that, would the motion include
Exhibit
the
A.
full extension or the full indication of where it's heading to the clubhouse?
Okay, I'll make a motion that the distribution easement with DTE Energy be approved contingent upon them updating Exhibit A, showing the line going all the way to the clubhouse for the Oak Crest Golf Course property.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
No.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Have anyone in the audience that wishes to address the council on any item of interest, so do so now. We have no one. We'll move on to mayor and council comments. Scott?
I just have one thing that I ask of Ray. Now that we're getting closer to school, starting back up, if we had that committee or whatever you wanted to call it, that meeting for the stop signs or whatever, if we could meet again, because as ending of last year, I know the routes and everything were a lot better, but just doing the route every day by the school, I don't like the crosswalk right in between the buses, because those kids fly out of there, and it's a crosswalk. You can't see that, even if you're going 5 miles an hour, they bolt in between those buses, and you can't stop.
Okay.
So I'd like to see, maybe we can move that, put that in a different spot, where it's more
Visible?
visible to the driver and to the pedestrian walking through. I do see a lot of, I don't know if it's just school, but I see a lot of failing to notice a stop sign at both those four-way intersections. This summer, it's gotta be the worst time that I've ever seen. Just hoping that school comes up, gets a little bit, back in hand. That's all I got.
So you'll get that together?
Yep. I'll get that
Contact the
together.
school?
Okay.
I have no question.
Lee?
Yeah, our big outage rate, what was the problem?
I still have not received an official word on what the interruption, what caused the main interruption. We had a fault in the line on the south loop. It actually faulted through our relays and ended up all the way down to the hydro. The hydro came offline. First thing the guys do is they get down there, they put the hydro back online, and then they work themselves through on segments to relieve the fault. It could be, a fault could be caused from a limb, a squirrel, a number of different typical activities. They made their way all the way through to about a 3-span section close to the wastewater treatment plant, and they had a heck of a time getting the relays to hold. And we were thinking that there could have been something to do with the connectivity in the relays, the communications in the relays. And so we did send the information to our electrical engineer, Dave Krause. I have not heard back from Dave. I know he's been extremely busy, that he was involved in an outage in another location. So I still have to reach out to him and find out if he's been able to look at the data.
One thing with that, though, the work we've done in the past to have it, so you're not losing the whole city when that happens, worked well, because my power, less than a second. I mean, it didn't even reset my computer. My TV turned off and on, but my computer didn't even reset when that happened. So all that work has definitely been beneficial.
And I know something else that it was kind of apparent, anyway, from the administration side, is that this was actually a very long outage. For some customers, it was as long as 4 hours, from what I understand. And it was very unsettling to them, obviously, to have it go that long. And really, when you look at, and we look at across the state in the areas of where some of our other utilities are having outages, 4 hours for us, that's a long outage, but, it actually, if you go back how many years, our system is much better than it had been, a couple decades ago.
And we've been lucky. We've been able to
We've
get.
been lucky. But we made those improvements in the system, and I think that's showing when a 4-hour outage, which is not, it's too long. I mean, I'm not making light of a 4-hour.
But it's been a long time since we had an outage like that.
Yeah.
I can go back to the day when a dark cloud would go over the city and you'd be without power for 2 hours. Okay, and by the way, I would like to thank the electrical crew. I know they're out there doing the best they could, and again, I'd like to thank them for the work they did. 2 other things. Channel 7, the sound was good, the audio was real good. I watched it for the council meeting, but the video was just, everybody sitting up here looked fuzzy. I had to look twice to see who was who almost. I don't know have you had any complaints on that, Trish?
We've had a lot of
like looking at
complaints
this
off and
right
on.
there, hey, that's beautiful. But that's nowhere near what I got on my 2 TV sets.
You don't want to know what it looks like in there right now. We're going to be using the tape.
Okay, one other thing here. Do we have a program in place yet to address our water leaks and hydrant leaks?
Okay.
Replacements.
So, we got the report back from our leak detection, and there were some major leaks.
Yeah, I said
Yeah,
about
report.
100 and some thousand gallons a day. That's
Yeah,
a
so
lot of
now
water.
we have to go through and we have to target those. And we're gonna start picking them off.
That's all I have.
I have a comment. I didn't get out to Valley View, but I did have a resident call me today, and hopefully I get a chance here to get out there, and they really thought that the guys did a good job, that the road looked good, and they're really happy with that, so I just wanted to make a comment on that.
And I took a ride out there today, and
You did?
to me, it looks real good. I mean, I'm not a road engineer, but it rode good and it looked good.
That's all I have. Mr. Anderson?
I have nothing further.
Jeremy?
Oh, Jeremy! Oh,
That's okay, I got nothing.
I'm sorry about that, Jeremy. Just skip right over you.
That was fine, I had nothing.
Mr. Anderson?
No, I don't have anything.
Grant?
Nothing, thank you.
Girls? I need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn. Support.
Meeting adjourned.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes?
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
I don't know if you can see it from your angle, like, they're looking at it, the screen is like orange. They're like, that must be how they're recording them, that's why I'm so. It's apples to apples. Freaking hours working there, that just doesn't, this one's $7 and that was $2.
They don't know who we are.
Initial is?
Really expensive to have.
Yeah.